My name is Lin Chen, and this is the story of how I danced my way out of my family's shadow, only to find it waiting for me. It started with one night, a night that still pulses in my veins. I stood under the neon lights of San Francisco's Chinatown on a makeshift stage at a street dance battle, moving to a hip-hop beat that shook the pavement. The crowd roared, but then I saw him, my dad, pushing through the mob, his face a mask of fury. "Lin, stop this now!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the music. I froze, mid-spin, heart pounding. I defied him, danced when he'd forbidden it, and now the whole world knew. "You've shamed us," he said later, his words like knives. I didn't care. I was done being their perfect daughter. But that night lit a fuse I couldn't put out. Let me take you back. I grew up in Chinatown, where the air smelled of dumplings and incense, and dragon lanterns hung over narrow streets. My parents, Wei and Mei Chen, poured their lives into our family restaurant, Dragon Gate. My dad cooked, his hands scarred from walks. My mom managed the books, her eyes sharp behind glasses. They were pillars of the community, hosting Lunar New Year feasts, teaching kids calligraphy. To them, family was legacy, and I was its keeper. I was the good daughter, straight A's, serving tables after school, practicing Chinese at home. At our apartment, I was Xiaoling, bowing to ancestors' photos, eating congee with my grandma's stories of China. But at school, I was Lin, the girl who lived for dance, hip-hop, breakdance, the kind that made my pulse race. I'd sneak to community centers, copying moves from YouTube, dreaming of stages. Dance was my voice, but my parents saw it as noise. They had one plan. I'd take over Dragon Gate. "It's our blood, Lin," my mom would say, her voice firm. "Dance won't feed you." My dad was harsher. "This hip-hop is American nonsense. You're Chinese. Act like it." To them, my passion was a betrayal of our heritage, a rejection of Xiao. Filial duty. But every time I served dim sum or balanced their books, I felt like I was fading. The tension grew in high school. I got into UC Berkeley, where my parents thought I'd study business. Instead, I took dance electives, hiding my schedule. My best friend, Aisha, a black dancer with dreams of Broadway, was my anchor. "You're electric, Lin," she'd say, filming my routines. "Don't let them dim you." I wanted to believe her, but the lies weighed heavy. The breaking point came in my freshman year. Chinatown hosted its annual street festival, with a dance battle that drew crews from across the Bay Area. Aisha's team needed a fill-in, and she begged me to join. "This is your shot," she said. I'd never danced in public. My parents had banned it, saying it was shameful for a Chen. But I was tired of hiding. I told myself I'd do it, just once, and they'd never know. My mom frowned but let it go. My dad was too busy with the restaurant's festival booth to care. The night of the battle, my stomach churned. I wore a black hoodie, sneakers, and a cap, blending into the crowd. The stage was a slab of plywood, lit by neon signs, music blasting. When our crew's name was called, I stepped up, heart racing. The beat dropped, and I moved. Spins, pops, locks, the crowd screaming. For the first time, I was alive. Then I saw my dad. He'd left the booth early, spotted by a cousin who'd come to watch. His shout stopped me cold. The music kept going, but I stood frozen, Aisha pulling me off stage. The crowd murmured, some clapping, some laughing. My dad stormed over, face red. "You lied to us," he yelled, "in front of everyone. I'm not your doll," I shot back, voice shaking. "This is me." My mom appeared, eyes wet. "Lin, why? We gave you everything." "Because I'm suffocating," I said, tears burning. "I'm not your legacy. I'm Lin." My dad's voice was steel. "Go home, you're done." I didn't. I ran to Aisha's, her mom letting me crash. "You were fire out there," Aisha said, but it felt like ash. I danced my truth but lost my family. I didn't know how deep that wound would go, or what secret would change it all. I thought dancing in that street battle, defying my parents' ban, would make me whole. But it didn't. It carved a chasm between us, wider with every silent glare. My dad's shout, "You've shamed us!" echoed in my head, and my mom's tears cut deeper than words. I was Lin, chasing my dance, but also Xiaolin, the daughter who dishonored her family. Chinatown buzzed with gossip. Uncles muttering at the market, aunties whispering over tea. My parents bore the shame, their legacy tarnished. I felt guilt, but I buried it. They wanted a restaurant heir. I wanted to move. I couldn't go home. I stayed at Aisha's, her mom letting me crash on their couch. "You lit that stage, girl," Aisha said, tossing me a pillow. "But now what?" I didn't know. School was my refuge. I threw myself into UC Berkeley's dance electives, choreographing routines, practicing in empty studios. My latest piece, a hip-hop fusion about breaking free, got praise from my professor. Isha posted a clip online and it hit 30,000 views, with comments like, "She's fire," and "Who's this dancer?" It felt like a win, but every view reminded me of my parents. They hadn't called, and I hadn't either. Then came a shot. Aisha's mentor, Jamal, ran a dance crew that performed at festivals. He'd seen my clip and invited me to audition for a spot at Bay Area Dance Fest, a big event with scouts from LA. "You got raw talent, Lin," he said over boba, "but you gotta commit." It was my dream, a real stage, a chance to go pro. But the audition clashed with Dragon Gate's annual Lunar New Year banquet, where my parents expected me to serve tables and play the dutiful daughter. My mom texted, "We need you, Xiaolin. It's tradition." I was torn. The audition was my future. The banquet was their heart. I tried negotiating, helped prep the banquet, skip serving, but my dad shut me down. "You will be there," he said, voice hard. I lied, saying I had a group project. My mom sounded doubtful, but my dad was too busy to argue. I hated deceiving them, but I needed this chance. The audition day, I stood in Aisha's room, practicing moves in a cropped hoodie and sneakers. My phone pinged with my mom's texts. "Banquet starting, where are you?" I silenced it, nerves electric. Aisha drove me to the dance studio, a gritty space with mirrors and bass thumping. I danced my fusion piece, sharp pops, fluid waves, the crew cheering. Jamal nodded. "You're in," he said. "Rehearsals start next week." I was flying, like I'd claimed my soul. But my high crashed when I checked my phone. A voicemail from my dad, voice raw. "You lied, Lin. A customer saw you at that studio. You're no daughter of ours." Someone from the banquet must have spotted me. I looked at Aisha, who'd heard it. "You're in trouble," she said. I stayed at her place, too scared to face them. Next morning, my mom texted, "You broke our trust, Xiaolin. Come home." Guilt surged, but so did defiance. They'd never backed my dance. Why should I apologize? I worked on new routines, but my parents' faces haunted me. Then my cousin, Kai, called. "I'm not judging," he said, "but your dad's a mess. He's quiet, not eating. They miss you, Lin." His words hit hard. I'd been so angry I hadn't seen their pain. "They want a puppet, not me," I said. "They're scared," he said. "Talk to them." I hung up, his words lingering. Scared? My dad, the chef who built Dragon Gate from nothing? It didn't fit, but it stuck. That night I choreographed a softer piece, blending hip-hop with Chinese fan dance moves. Aisha watched. "That's you, Lin," she said. "That's home." I didn't know a crisis was coming, one that would force me to face my family, and a truth that would shift everything. I thought defying my parents to dance would free me, but it chained me to guilt. Every move I practiced carried their pain. My dad's fury, my mom's tears. I was Lin, chasing my rhythm, but also Xiaolin, the daughter who'd shattered their trust. I stayed at Aisha's, her couch my refuge. "You can't run forever," her mom warned, handing me tea. She was right, but my dad's words, "You're no daughter of ours," stung too much to face them. I drowned in dance to cope. Jamal's crew prepped for Bay Area Dance Fest, and I nailed rehearsals, my hip-hop fusion earning nods. Aisha filmed a practice, posting it online. It hit 60,000 views, with comments like, "She's next level," and "Chinatown's got talent." Fans hyped me, but it felt hollow. My parents hadn't reached out, and Chinatown's gossip, Way's rebellious girl, burned their pride. Then came a shock. I got a text from my cousin, Kai. "Lynn, your dad's in the hospital, chest pain. St. Francis Memorial now." My heart stopped. My dad was 50, tough, slinging walks daily. It didn't make sense. Isha drove me through San Francisco's fog, my mind racing. His angry shout, my lies, the banquet I'd skipped. At the hospital, my mom sat in the waiting room, face pale, hands twisting. She hugged me, trembling. "He's stable," she said. "Stress, maybe angina, they're testing." Guilt crushed me. "Is it me?" I asked, voice breaking. She shook her head, but her eyes said otherwise. Kai pulled me aside. "It's not just you," he said. "The restaurant's struggling, and your fight's killing them. They miss you, Lynn." His words hit like a missed beat. I'd been so caught up in my dance, I hadn't seen their hurt. "Can I see him?" I asked. My mom nodded, leading me to his room. My dad lay in bed, wired to monitors, looking smaller, worn. His eyes softened when he saw me. "Xiaolin," he said, voice weak. "You came." "I'm sorry," I choked, tears falling. "I didn't mean this." "Not your fault," he said, wincing. "I was too hard. I thought I was saving you." I wanted to spill everything, how dance was my life, how I felt trapped, but I just held his hand, his skin rough from years at the walk. My mom watched, eyes wet. For a moment, I felt hope, like we could heal. But the next day, my dad was grumpier, snapping at nurses about broth. He was still him, stubborn, but when we were alone, he said, "Lynn, we need to talk about why I pushed you. It's not what you think." I braced for a scolding, but a doctor interrupted, discussing tests. My dad clammed up, the moment lost. I left confused, his words nagging. Not what I think? What was he hiding? At Aisha's, I choreographed for the fest, adding Chinese elements, fan moves, lion dance vibes. Jamal loved it. "This is you," he said. The fest was in a week, but it clashed with my dad's hospital discharge dinner, a family gathering my mom insisted on. She texted, "He needs you, Xiaolin." I was split. The fest was my shot. My dad's pain was my fault. I told Jamal, expecting him to push the fest. "Family's core," he said. "We'll find another gig." I paced Aisha's room, replaying my dad's words. "Not what you think." Kai had hinted at something too. I called him. "Your dad's been off," he said, talking about his past in Hong Kong. "Ask him, Lynn." I didn't want to, scared of what I'd hear, but it pulsed like a beat I couldn't ignore. The fest loomed. The dinner called, and my parents' secret felt like a shadow over every step. I had to choose, my dance or my family. I didn't know one truth would rewrite the choreography of our lives. I was caught between my dance and my duty. Bay Area Dance Fest pulling me toward my dream, my dad's hospital bed anchoring me to home. His words, "It's not what you think," pulsed in my head, hinting at a secret I couldn't ignore. I wanted to leap into my future, but Kai's voice lingered. "Your dad's been off." I didn't know one truth would reframe my family's story, and my own. The day before the fest, I was at Aisha's, practicing moves, my mind a mess. My mom's text burned. "Your dad's home tomorrow. Be there, Shaolin? Isha caught me staring at it. Go see him, Lin, she said. You'll regret it. She was right. My new choreography, blending hip-hop and Chinese moves, had stirred something. I couldn't step forward without facing them. I texted my mom I'd come for my dad's homecoming. She replied, "Thank you." I didn't mention the fest, too tangled. Jamal was cool when I asked to skip it. "Families first," he said. "We'll get another stage." As I packed, I felt like I was risking my dream, but my dad's frail form in that bed weighed heavier. Home smelled of ginger and memory. My cousin Kai hugged me, whispering, "Be gentle." My dad sat in the dining room, a blanket over him, looking worn but alert. My mom hovered, eyes tired. "Zhouling," my dad said, voice rough. "You're here." "I had to be," I said, sitting close, hands trembling. Silence fell, thick with our fights. I wanted to apologize, but he spoke. "We need to talk," he said, eyes distant, "about why I stopped your dance. It's my past." I braced for blame, but then came the twist, the truth that changed it all. "I was a dancer," he said, voice low. "In Hong Kong, in my teens, I did street dance, break dance, freestyle. I had a crew, battles, a shot at fame. But my father, your yeye, called it disgraceful. When he got sick, I quit to run his shop, then came to America for you and your mom. I thought I'd buried it, but seeing you dance, it brought it back. I pushed you to Dragon Gate because I was scared you'd lose everything like I did." I froze. My dad, a street dancer? The man who'd banned my hip-hop had been like me? "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, tears spilling. "I was ashamed," he said, voice cracking. "I wanted to be strong, to protect you. But I was wrong, Lin. I caged you, and it broke me." The room blurred. My dad had sacrificed his rhythm for family, just as I'd fought to keep mine. His rules, my mom's pleas. It was their fear I'd end like him, broken. "I'm sorry," I said, sobbing. "I thought you hated me." "Never," he said, grabbing my hand. "I love you, Shaolin." My mom joined us, her arms around us, tears falling. We cried, raw and messy, the wall between us crumbling. I skipped the fest. Jamal rescheduled me for a spring showcase. I stayed home, helping my dad recover. One night, he showed me old photos, him in baggy jeans spinning on a Hong Kong street. "You're better than I was," he said, grinning. I laughed, tears in my eyes. My mom watched, softer now, and we talked about his crew, my moves, the dreams we'd hidden. My dance evolved. I blended lion dance spins and fan flourishes into my hip-hop, honoring my roots. I posted a new routine online, and it hit 100,000 views, even catching Chinatown's eye. Kai's mom shared it, writing, "Lin's our pride." Jamal's crew booked a gig at a national festival, and my parents came to my Berkeley showcase, my dad cheering loudest, my mom filming like a pro. I thought I had to choose, dance or duty, Chinese or me, but my dad's secret showed me I could have both. Legacy grounds you, dreams lift you. I'm Lin Chen, moving to my beat, carrying my family's love. The stage is mine, but so is home,